Thank you very much for having us here. We're really excited to be at this absolutely awesome event. What we are going to talk about is how to transform good teams into awesome ones. And actually, the answer is really simple. You can't. Thank you very much.
Okay, you can't. Yes, because people don't like to be changed. It doesn't mean that people don't want to change. Of course, everybody wants to grow. Everybody wants to improve. But we don't like to be changed by someone else. We don't like to have this kind of the feeling that there is somebody that is doing something to us and it changes us some way. So we are not talking about changing people. And our first thing and the most important thing at the beginning is that what you should not do with teams, you should not convince people to do something. You shouldn't convince. So the question is, if not convincing, so what other tools, what other things we can do in order to help teams grow? And this is what we are going to talk about here. We're going to talk about some practices, our approach in our everyday Agile coaching.
Yeah, so our experience and our examples come from mostly from Agile transformation projects where we were introducing Scrum or Kanban. But actually, I believe that with any initiative, small or large, when you want to help the team grow, some of the techniques that we'll be presenting you may find useful. And that's our goal. So rather than convince to our approach, we want to share our approach with you. And the approach has 3 steps. So this is what we're going to cover in this presentation. First, focus on the needs. Figure out what people really need. What are the goals? What business needs and what the team needs. Once you have figured out, then you know the direction, and it sounds simple, but it's not always that easy. Simply share what you see. Make things that are implicit, explicit, and at the same time, don't get too attached into what you're sharing. This is also something that we'll cover in this presentation. And at the same time, if you believe in some principles, rather than convince others to these principles, simply follow them, be a model, do what you say. So if you want let's say, convince other people in your company to commute by bike, probably no persuasion methods or discussions or data, whatever, will convince them better than your own example. So needs, sharing what you see and doing what you say. So let's start with the first one.
Yes, let's start with the needs. And let's go back for a while to the title, because we wanted to say about how to transform good teams into awesome ones. So what is a good team? When you start to work with a team as a coach, Scrum Master, or other person, you come to the team with your own beliefs, with your own tools, with your own imagination, how the things should go. And it is it's very dangerous, because you may want to judge the team. You may say, okay, everything what you do is wrong. And this is the best way to make the team enemy, your enemy. So at the beginning, the very important approach is to be some kind, to have some kind of a blank mind, a clear mind, tabula rasa. You have no assumption. You just try to learn what's going on in the team, what's going on in the environment. So first thing what we operationally do, we start to learn as much as possible about the team and the surroundings. We talk with the team, of course, with developers, we talk with Scrum Master, we talk with product owner, we talk with managers, we talk with users, all stakeholders that play important role in order to understand what are their expectations, what are their frustrations, what are their problems. If there is if it is a part of agile transformation, so what is this about? Why this transformation was begun? We call it needs discovery. We want to know what are the needs, and we want to describe at least two perspectives: business needs and team needs. And business needs is our starting point, because sometimes we start to work with company, we work with we talk with a sponsor, and sponsor says, okay, guys, you are good, do some coaching. Okay, but the question is why? What for? What are the goals? If there is a kind of transformation in a company, what are the goals of this transformation? What kind of value is expected from this transformation? So we try to clarify, in context of our work, what are these goals? It may be, maybe it's about shortening the time to market. Maybe it's about reducing turnover, employees' turnover. Maybe it's about reducing complaints from customer. It's very important to clarify it. Not only clarify, but also define some kind of measure. How are we going to measure? How are we going to check whether there is really some kind of improvement, whether there is really some kind of value, and what happens? Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I have a question. From where do you know that those are exactly business needs? Are you ask people, or how do you do it?
Yes, we ask people. We ask managers.
How can you be sure that they are real needs, not because of the people?
Well, no, it depends on the situation, but sometimes when there is actually rollout or the whole transformation, either the needs, the goals are set, okay? Like we had this situation, like the goals were really clear. Same software development life cycle, reduce multitasking and introduce a tool so that you can measure the performance. That's the easy situation. And kind of the more demanding means go as high as possible or even higher, and ask what are the expectations. Okay, so we're doing this agile transformation, and what do you expect to change at the business level?
It's okay. One perspective is a business perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And at the same time, it's really important to discover and help the team discover, I'd rather put it that way, what the team needs. Okay, so while working with the team, we figure out what do you actually need, what are your goals, what would make your day at work better. And some teams say, okay, it would be absolutely awesome if we start working on a specific product, because we work on a bunch of small things, systems, but it's not a single product. And we want to really be proud of what we're working on, so we want to deliver quality code. Or it would be absolutely awesome if we manage to engage customers in all phases, right? we want to see that what we're doing is really meaningful, and it will go to production soon. And by the way, we would like to have some fun at the same time. And coming back to this question of good team, the assumption here is no matter what's the current situation and maybe what the management says about how bad this team or maybe this one is better, or we kind of take the approach that, okay, things are how they are, we come with clear mind and we treat all teams as good teams. And once we do this needs discovery, something that really helps to make the whole thing successful is to align business needs and team needs together. And after that, that's the path to get the awesome team. But the whole part of the needs discovery or the goals discovery gives you the direction. Now it's a question of how to actually help the team grow. And that way we're coming to the second part of the presentation, which is sharing what you see.
Okay, we got about, I can see about 10 minutes of presentation. And when I look at you, I can see that you are all bored with this presentation. Am I right? No? No? Is there anybody bored?
Pardon?
Let's fail fast.
Fail fast?
Fire fast.
Okay. Yeah, there is a question over there.
Yeah? There was a question? Oh, you're bored, yeah?
Okay.
Can you say more about it? Do you want to say? Do you want to share it?
It's just nothing new.
Nothing new.
Nothing new. Okay.
Okay.
So you'd expect something new. Right now. Okay. All right. Now, let's take a step back from what just happened and see what Mariusz did. Okay. So he provided an observation together with an interpretation that you are all bored. It's kind of a confrontation. And that's one of the techniques you may use while working with the team. And the key thing here is it doesn't really matter whether you're right or wrong with this statement. But confronting in such a way, asking such a question, opens a new field for discussion. So I had a team where I definitely observed very low energy. People were doing kind of all these Scrum events, but that wasn't something I couldn't see the sparks in their eyes. And the simple confrontation with such a team was, okay, you don't really, you seem not to be, what's the word?
Convinced to Scrum?
Convinced to using Scrum. And you know what? I mean, they of course said, no, it's just something else. But the key thing, and it doesn't matter whether I was wrong or right. That's the whole thing. This statement sparked a conversation where, but what's the gain for all of us? And we came back to the previous step, which is what are the needs, what we'll gain, and opened completely new area of possibilities and brought up team to this goal, what we actually want from working with Scrum. Another example, I came to the team which actually definitely I told them, you're working on 2 products, you should split into 2 teams. And, well, you know what, they after the discussion, they said, well, no, that's not what we want to do. But 3 months later, they started thinking about it. So confront without getting too much attached into doing this.
Yeah, sometimes confront may be about checking the situation, just like here. We were afraid that you may be bored, so we wanted to ask and be sure what's going on. Okay, another thing that we can do, we can look at nuances, notice nuances. Because, you know, sometimes problems are very obvious. For example, we've got a problem with process, we've got a problem with product, with technical practices, but many problems are not expressed explicitly. So I remember one situation, it's 3 weeks ago, I talked with a Scrum Master, and we talked about his attitude, his approach to one team. And after some discussion, I just asked a question. Okay, you know, we talk about it, so are you ready to get started? Are you ready to commit to this? And I heard something like, yes. Okay. I'm not sure whether this yes is really strong yes. So tell me what's going on. And after a short conversation, it turned out that the Scrum Master had a talk with the team 2 days ago, because the Scrum Master was also a part of the team. And the team pushed the Scrum Master not to spend too much time on his Scrum Master role, but rather on analysis of requirements that were in the projects. And we started to think about it, what to do, how to talk with the team about this subject. Yes, but noticing this, that this yes was not so strong, was very important, because otherwise the Scrum Master wouldn't have this internal allowance to do it. Maybe you are on the meeting, and in a team you talk about something, and there's a moment when everybody is about to say what he thinks about some kind of a potential decision, and everybody says something that he or she agrees or not, but one person doesn't say anything. It also may be a very important signal. So why didn't you say anything? And it may turn out that this is one of my situations. Okay, you know, I'm not sure how to introduce what we talk about in our everyday practice. So I don't know. And before, he didn't say anything. So noticing that somebody is not talking may be important, may bring some new information, some new perspective. And of course, after this situation, we talked with the team and started to figure out how we can really put this practice into life. So if you are in the meeting, and for example, people see it in a strange way or a different way. For example, you can see that there are some kind of two subgroups. For example, developers on the one side of the table and other people on the other side. It also may mean something. It doesn't mean that every time this kind of nuances will have a meaning, but it's useful to check from time to time. Oh, Paul, I can see that you started to play on the phone.
Yeah, that's also kind of a nuance you may notice very often during the meetings. People start using mobile phones. Actually, that's one of my stories. I had a retrospective where I, as an Agile coach, was asked for a question, asked to answer a question. Rather than provide the answer, I simply noticed that Maciek, you seem to be using your mobile phone. And with this observation, led to Maciek started to speak up, and he had a number of really good ideas that totally changed the direction of the discussion in the retrospective. So small things, nuances you may notice might actually completely change the way the meeting looked like. And one more thing here, is that one part of this technique is to notice nuances in the environment, in the team, what's happening. And another level is to notice nuances in your own behavior. So when you sit on the meeting and you get bored, when someone's talking and talking and talking and talking, maybe you get bored and maybe there is a question you would like to ask, but you were too shy. You see the idea. So notice nuances. And if you have this impulse to look at the mobile phone, ask yourself what's happening or what we are not talking about maybe, that I have this impulse.
Okay, we would like to see some feedback from you, and also because it's quite late, so energize you a little bit. So we've got we would like to set some kind of experiment. We'd like to ask you a question. How much did you got interested into this presentation so far? Let's imagine that there is some kind of virtual scale, and there's one end of the scale, the beginning of the scale, where the pole is, and it means that it has no value, nothing important was said here, and this wall is the second end. What you heard seems to be very valuable, interesting. Maybe you reminded something that you forgot in the past, and now, okay, it would be fine to go back to this practice. So we've got some kind of continue. So please stand up.
Yes, please stand up and just find a place. So far, how interesting this presentation was for you? 0 on that side. Okay, great.
Yes, you can look around and see the situation. Okay, I can ask you why. No, what? Okay, why did you choose this place?
This is a useful bit, right? Which side is this? Useful, right? Yeah. I thought it was useful because quite often we're not thinking about these small sort of like the nuances, and yeah, it's good to remember these things because I think we forget them. That's why.
And that's why you chose.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe.
So, Anna, what made you choose this place?
I think I had different expectations here, so I'm doing these things already. I'm trying to notice what people are doing. I know it's my perception, so I might be wrong, but I expected some kind of ideas, some kind of exercises we could do, maybe. So maybe it's just my expectation here.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for taking part in this experiment. We'll share some more techniques. Hopefully, some of them you will find useful. The important thing is what we just did again. So, there was something we didn't know at all. We couldn't figure out that as speakers. So how much value that the presentation was for you so far? Okay. So we made an exercise to somehow make it visual, make it explicit, make something which is implicit explicit. And this is also something some technique which we may use with the teams. And again, it's important not to because visualization, nothing new, as you mentioned, right? But the cool thing is just visualize. Don't get too attached to it, and sometimes wait. That's the story I wanted to share. I had a team of introverts, 7 people, who during daily stand-ups were standing like that, doing them in 3 minutes, just to make them as fast as possible. And my first mistake was, okay, I'll try to facilitate the daily for you as a coach. And it didn't really work out. So my second attempt was, all right, so let's just measure, see how things are, and do nothing more. So at the end of every daily stand-up, tell me from 0 to 5, each participant, how much value was it for you, okay? And the Scrum Master was put it onto the chart, the average value of the meeting, and the value was like 1 out of 5, or maybe 2 next day, half. It was 4 once, because there was a Fat Thursday and there were donuts. But basically, after 10 days of measuring value, which was generally low, these guys, got frustrated. But I really was happy with this frustration, because at one daily they simply said, no, that's not the way we want to work. We want to change that. And having that, again, opened a new conversation. Okay, what can we do? How are we going to structure this meeting? What do we need to do to make it meaningful and fun? So visualize things like interruptions, number of projects that you work on, and so on and so on. All right, I think we need to speed up things a little, so let's jump straight to the last part.
So those practices we talked about are about how to show something, or how to make explicit something what was implicit, instead of convincing. Another way is about doing what you say. And I see many Scrum Masters and coaches that teach Agile, but they don't do what they teach. What it means is where you believe that physical board has a value. So you, as a coach, as a Scrum Master, have your physical board, or join the board of your team. If you believe that a sprint goal has a value, also have your own sprint goal, of course, shared with the team. If you believe that limiting work in progress is important, you as a Scrum Master or Agile coach also limit your work in progress. And this way, you can show that you believe it, and that you may show that it can really work. This is also what we want, what we did in this presentation, what we have done here. We not only wanted to talk about these things, but show you a few here. So do what you say.
Yeah, and if you think about the idea, if you look at the all ideas that we presented, kind of focus on the needs, sharing what you see, and doing what you say. These are all things operational, what you can do. Sometimes basic, very basic things, but they may change a lot. And to kind of do them, you need to maintain the right attitude, which we call Zen Level. Because to be effective at discovering needs, you need to be sincerely curious. To share some nuances, share what you see, first you need to be present with the team, And sometimes it requires courage to speak up about some things. And when you simply do what you say, and after some time the team will follow. They'll say that, okay, so nice board, we want to have our own. This is simply about maintaining your personal integrity. So I hope that rather than convincing you to our approach, we showed you some tools which, at least some of them, you may find useful. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much.